I once rode a Greyhound through Wyoming in a hailstorm, sitting next to a woman whose brother got most of his face and skull replaced by titanium plates and belly fat just hours before. He'd been jumped for the hell of it, so she says, by a bunch of bored teenagers out for the kind of fun that can only be had at someone else's lifelong expense, who left him for dead on the side of the highway and bragged about it on Facebook the next day. As the bus drove on, through deadly weather, past houses and ranches I could count on to turn down shelter to somebody who needed it, I wondered who the evilest person in all Wyoming was, sure that within these state lines there had to be someone bad enough to make sure those teenagers, those homeowners, and Matthew Shepard's killers didn't even make the list. 6 months later, in the sunset's aftermath, I stood in a frontage road in Winnie, Texas with my thumb out, traffic moving slow enough to look every driver in the eye and watch maybe turn to no, time after time. If I were to walk into the low-lit gas stations along this path, I know there'd be a gorgeous, soul-breaking pop country song waiting for me inside of every one. But I wanted to be asleep on a mattress by the sunrise, so this night would have to be all the ballad that I got. This is a world made for and by people that can turn their hearts off at will. They only flip the power on inside of buildings with their own security guards, in the presence of family and lovers. But there is no kill switch on mine, and as long as that remains, these eyes and ears make sure I'll always be 900 miles from my home. There is enough love in me for it to count as a hazard to my sanity. But every time I've tried to find it a foster home, it's wound up in the custody of people who hurt me for things like not knowing what a frontage road is. I've never given all of myself to anyone who hasn't threatened to turn my life to confetti. This is not something I would have chosen if it had ever felt like a choice. But 40 miles from the Louisiana line, 850 in front of me, and hundreds more at my side, and somewhere between it all, there is someone with the ability to make my life a kind of beautiful that it's never been, just on the basis of who they are, living their life or dreaming with no idea I exist. And maybe California's got more people, but that's never been where I've turned for anything to get better or for my kind of love. But in Texas, in the hundreds of miles between the bayous and borders and oil rigs and gas stations and suburbs and slums and family restaurants and mountains and deserts and boardwalks and stockyards and trailer parks and mansion parks and theme parks and breakable downtowns and people, there is someone or 1,000 that can love me like I want to be loved, that I would be happy to share a grave, a life, or more with. The only question is finding who and finding it where and making it past all the acres and metal between us, and in the middle of it all, there are plenty of terrible people and plenty of room to do wrong in. And if the evilest person in Wyoming is too evil to imagine, then think about Texas. So many more people to hurt and so many more excuses. The evilest person in Texas is alive tonight with no plans to change, in a place where the post offices fly the same flag as a car slows down and pulls over, and the driver rolls down the window and waves a hand to say come inside. There's no way to know that's not him behind the wheel.